Welcome to the Birth Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Hof, BSN RN. I am a wife, a mother of two, and a nurse specializing in the care of women and newborns. In this podcast, we will share powerful journeys of birth givers with the goals of lifting the veil on the birth experience, healing through sharing, and beginning an open conversation to strengthen trust and promote transparency between birthing people and healthcare providers. Hello. Today I have with me Erika Yalowitz. Erika is the mother of one. She is on the advisory board for BRAWS and is a champion for reproductive freedom. Erika works as an intake officer in juvenile court, and she was recently a candidate for Virginia State Senate. Today, she is here to share her birth story and fertility journey. Erika, welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Kelly, for inviting me.
I am very intrigued by your story, and I've been watching your journey, and I want to hear the full story. So I'm really excited today to be able to hear it.
Thank you, and I'm excited to share it. You know, not many women talk about this, and I believe we should do it more, because otherwise we let others carry that narrative for us, and we cannot allow that to happen, especially these days when we are losing rights left and right, sadly, and we need to take more control of our narrative, our rights, the issues that we care about and why we care about them. It's really health. It all comes down to health.
So you had a miscarriage and you had to use some medications that some people find a little bit controversial, even though truly they should not be. Do you want to share that story and then share your birth story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had been married for 7 years, and I married probably later than most of my friends. I was 34 and I was already desperate. You know, I hadn't had a pregnancy ever. I really wanted a baby, or, you know, my husband and I really wanted a baby and had been waiting for a long time. So we had started some fertility treatment, and at some point we're talking about adoption. And I decided, okay, I believe I'm late. Let me take a test, which I didn't have much faith that test was going to be positive, because I had done that many, many times, running to take a test, and it was always negative. I was not pregnant. That time I was pregnant. And I was so happy. I called my family. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. I have a positive test. I told my coworkers, which was, you know, the most horrible mistake, just first time pregnancy. And I was just inexperienced, really, because the pregnancy didn't grow past 6 weeks. And it was very, very sad. I was going to my medical checkups, and the doctor was like, you know, this embryo is not growing. And after, I think it was 8 to 10 weeks, he said, we need to remove this pregnancy out of your body. Otherwise, it's going to cause complications. And it was extremely painful for me to understand that, to accept that. It was a really hard decision to make, but it was at that point, my health or really nothing, because nothing, you know, the embryo was not going to grow. So doctor prescribed misoprostol, which is one of the drugs that we are at risk of losing. And that drug helped me eliminate that embryo, which was, you know, extremely emotional, very, very sad. But I was very glad to have that medication legal and available to me. And I know that many women also use it for different purposes. So these medicines have really lots of uses, and one of them was life-saving for me. So yes, that was my first experience, and that was exactly 1 year before I finally got pregnant with my baby. That was my second pregnancy, and it was successful, and I was very fortunate to have that opportunity and be a mom.
So then, did you have to continue doing fertility treatments after that first miscarriage?
No, I didn't. And what I heard from friends and family was that now that I knew that my body could actually get pregnant, that I could actually conceive, it would be probably easier. And, you know, they were right. That was true. 1 year after that loss, I did get pregnant again, and it was a very successful pregnancy, and I was ready for it. You know, I had still been taking the prenatal supplements and everything that I had done the first time around, but this time, the second time was successful. Yeah. And that was good, without any intervention or fertility treatment.
Describe your second pregnancy. What was that like for you? What was your delivery like for you? How did that go?
So my second pregnancy was very, very good. I was very lucky. I only had sickness once, maybe within the first 2 months. But other than that, first of all, I was very, very happy. I had finally achieved something that I really wanted. All I always asked for was to have a baby before I turned 35. And there I was at 34. Almost 35, hoping to have a baby. It was a very healthy pregnancy. I felt like I really had a superpower. I really felt it was magical. And everything in me and people would tell me, hey, you look great. That your hair looks great. Your skin looks great. Like, I think the hormones and just everything just went so well. I felt like my body was magical, really creating someone. It was really remarkable. It was a very easy pregnancy, except for the very large belly. I had a big baby. I think she was 8 pounds and 8 ounces, but my weight has always been around 110 pounds. So that was a pretty big baby for me. And at the end, it just got a little uncomfortable. It was hard to lay down, hard to sleep. I had the full body pillow to accommodate the belly, and that was very helpful. I'm so glad I found that pillow. That was a very good purchase. Other than that, I remember the day of her arrival, the contractions got really strong, really, really strong. And they started probably at 5 p.m. They went all night and they were just getting worse and worse. And I was just trying to reach out for my husband or something to grab and go, oh, they were getting so painful and so uncomfortable. So finally the hospital anesthesiologist came in at 5 a.m. So I went in at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and they saw me. I had an epidural. Don't regret it at all. At the beginning, I was hoping to have everything natural. That was my ideal. I just want everything natural, like grandmas did. And if they could, why couldn't I? But then when I was in that position to make that decision, I decided, you know what? We have the technology. Let's just do it, because I'm not going to go through this if it's completely unnecessary. We have the technology. Seriously. Why not? And I'm very glad I made that decision, because the relief was instantaneous. I had been sleepless that whole night. So having that relief was very good to help me through the next phase, which was the pushing and all of that stress that comes during labor.
Well, first of all, I bet our grandmas would have chosen that option if they had it. So are we really honoring them by not taking it? Or
it's silly, we think that we're less of a woman if I just judge myself very harshly, and I want to make sure that I also show toughness and display something to my daughter that I want her to feel or to be. But on the other side, it's really, we set burdens on ourselves that have no meaning, no reason, and no logics, really. If we can take advantage of something that we have available to us that's perfectly safe, that's perfectly okay, that we are in a professional setting where it's going to be done by someone who has practiced that for many, many years, the risks are minimum and the benefits are so large that why not? And I learned that day very quickly. The decision was made very fast.
I rarely have anybody that regrets an epidural, but I do have people that have wonderful natural deliveries, and having a baby, no matter how you have it, is a very, very valid and wonderful and powerful thing to do. So there shouldn't be any judgment.
That is true. And it's, I think the judgment is self-judgment. We judge ourselves. We're not judging others. I don't judge anyone else who will, do it or not do it. I was judging myself. Yeah. I didn't want to be a chicken. Uh-huh. I didn't want to be, anyway, it just was nonsense.
Well, it's a lot of comparison too. And so we're looking at other people and thinking, oh, well, that person did it, so why can't I? And of course you can, but the question is, at the end of the day, do you want to? And if you decide to just give yourself a little bit of relief, there's nothing wrong with that.
Very true.
So then how was your delivery?
My delivery I was very fortunate. My mom lives overseas, but she traveled and she was here during the delivery. My husband was here during the delivery, which none of them passed out. It's messy. It's a mess. It was beautiful. My father had passed away 1 year earlier. During that really difficult year when I had that loss, was really sad for me. And I remember when her head came out, I could see her and I could see her face. And the first thing I see is her chin. Her chin looks like my father's chin. And I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like my dad. Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, beautiful. And then just holding her in my arms during all those months, I was wondering, what does her face look like? What is she like? What does she smell like? It was very primal. I just wanted to smell her, just wanted to touch her, just wanted to see her. And when that moment came, it was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
And what a gift to have her look like your father.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
The first memory that I have of her, it was just her chin. Yeah. She has my dad's chin.
So then did you do skin to skin and hold her and breastfeed right away? How did that go?
Yes, I did. Well, they took her away to wipe her, and then we did the skin to skin. I tried to feed her, and it was extremely difficult. That was the other thing that I say, wow, this was really tough. And it took me a good month or two to get used to it. I almost gave up. And I don't judge anyone who really can't do it, because I almost said, I can't do this. I mean, the pain, the bleeding, the issue about the milk coming out or not coming out. I was very fortunate because I was producing a lot of milk, but I also had to get rid of it. And my baby was not latching. So that was an issue. And I had to work with a breastfeeding consultant and, that additional support and lots of pumping, because I needed to extract the milk. Otherwise, it was just creating problems. It was extremely painful. But yes, after about 2 months, I got the hang of it. And then I kept breastfeeding her, nursing her for about 16 to 18 months. So that was very fortunate. It was an experience.
It always is too. It's a learning experience for both mom and baby, because baby's got to learn how to do it. Did you find out if there's any reason for the difficult latch?
No, I don't believe so. Or actually, let me think. We had her seen for, to see if the roof of her mouth was properly formed or something like that. But in the end, I don't think it was a problem with her or with me. I think it was both of us trying to adapt. And it's not easy, that when you've never breastfed, the skin is not adapted to breastfeeding. It's a really rough process. The pulling, the tension, the pushing, it's just really rough on the skin. I mean, if you learn to play guitar, your fingers will bleed. It's kind of the same thing with your nipples. They will get irritated, they will bleed. And if you keep doing it, you have to do it every 2 hours. You have to feed every 2 hours. So there's no rest. It just keeps happening. And that was a torture at the beginning, but in the end, when I was able to find the lotion, the ointment that offered some relief, some of that was medicated. I had to pick it up at a pharmacy, and that worked.
Yeah, that's great. Did you have any complications with your delivery?
So yes, it was not a complication during the delivery. I really didn't know this had happened until after I returned home. I felt that something was wrong with me. I really couldn't see anything, and I didn't know what the difference was between, stitches or my own skin, but I knew there was something that wasn't right and that didn't feel right. And I kept calling my doctor, and my doctor said, no, you're fine. You're good to go. We checked inside. There's nothing in it. And I thought there was something remains of maybe the placenta left in my body. And she always said, no, that there's absolutely nothing. Everything's good with you. But I insisted in an appointment. I received an appointment 4 days after the delivery. And when I went in, she was still adamant that there's nothing in there. She looked at me once, and she saw nothing. And I just told her, I'm absolutely sure there is something. Please keep looking. So she entered with what's the name of the?
Speculum.
Yes. She entered again with her instrument.
Speculum.
And she found a fist-sized piece of placenta. And she extracted it. She really quickly disposed of it, but it was infuriating. First off, that huge piece remain had been left there. Second off, that she was not believing that I had it. Third off, that I, really had to make her look. And then the fourth most infuriating part is that she just pretended that it never happened. She just got rid of it and it was gone, and you're fine. You can get out of here. So yes, I changed OBs after that.
So then after that, did you feel much better? Did you have any trouble with bleeding or anything like that?
No trouble at all with bleeding, and no problems after that. I mean, it was just the regular bleeding, but it was not concerning. I mean, when something's wrong, when something's okay, and I felt much better after that. If you asked about any other complications, I never expected, although I read in that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, about incontinence, urinary incontinence. And I had never experienced anything like that. And to me, it was scary. I just couldn't hold my urine for a long time, or just couldn't hold it at all. And any cough, any sneeze, any movement was just like, what's going on with me? I was wondering if it was going to stay like that for forever. I mean, after that, I spoke with my mom, and she was like, "Oh yes, your grandma had that. And when did it stop?" "Oh, never." Oh gosh, this is not great. Why didn't I know this before? But I had some pelvic floor work with a specialist, and thankfully it was corrected within a few months. But it took work, Kegels and exercises, and I had to really, really work to make everything a little tighter again.
Yeah, I had the same experience after my second, and that was really you feel so out of control. You're trying to take care of a baby and you can't even really function yourself.
Exactly.
You're just like, what is happening?
Yes.
And I did the pelvic floor physical therapy too. It's hard.
It is.
You're trying to take care of it and having these awkward exercises and make time into that. Was that challenging for you as well? Or did they work and try to do exercises that moms kind of...
It was very challenging. And my main issue was believing whether that was going to work or not. I just didn't see it work for a long time. It was 1 month, 2 months, and I'm like, I'm not getting any better. This is not working for me. And I think that stress was more difficult to deal with than the actual work. But I just kept working. And at some point, it just became very automatic. After I even returned to the office, I found myself just doing exercises with just tightening my body all the time. And, as I walked, or as I was sitting, or as I was standing, I was always, always, always exercising just without thinking. And yeah, it worked over time. It did work.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little miniature lifestyle change. I feel like I still take some of those things with me. Like when I'm running up the stairs, they told me to blow out so that I'm not bearing down. I'm constantly running up and down the stairs because I left something there, or, oh, I need to do this one more thing. And she was like, if you're doing that all the time, you need to blow out when you run up the stairs so that you're not bearing down.
Wow, that is interesting.
It's so helpful. She also told me, instead of pushing to pee, if it's hard to start your urine, she said to blow out like you're blowing birthday candles, which somehow lifts the pelvic floor, but also allows the right muscles to relax, which I don't understand how it holds my pee in when I'm running upstairs. And it doesn't when I'm sitting on the toilet, but magical. It works. I even tell my son when he was potty training, I said, just blow out the birthday candles and he'll do that. He can pee.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Did you ever have any difficulty with your core after delivery? Did you have?
Yes, very much. Oh, that's something. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so I had diastasis recti.
Oh, wow.
And I will tell you that I went to the doctor and he said, you need to fix this with surgery. We need to surgically pull the muscles together because you can fit like a finger in the middle of the abdomen. I started doing Pilates. I did Pilates for about 2 years, and then I started seeing my muscles close, literally just like that. And I think I continued it. It's a discipline, but it did not require surgery. I can say that I did it with Pilates. Pilates really helped me do it.
Yeah. Something that I noticed that was so weird for me, I feel like my brain and my core were just not connected for a while. I think that was a huge part of it. And I think that's what, even though I had already stopped going to the pelvic floor physical therapy, just like you said, the lifestyle changes, eventually something connected, just like trusting and doing those exercises, like those little bitty pelvic tilts and just some of the things where you just focus on trying to activate those muscles. Just finally something clicked, and suddenly now my brain knows they're there again. It's just weird what the body does after pregnancy and all of the things that you have to kind of correct. And I'm so thankful that we have those methods to do it now, because it's terrifying when you can't control your body.
That is very true. It's a huge impact. It's a huge change.
Are you pregnant and planning a hospital birth? You don't need a birth plan. You need a birth vision. In my opinion, birth plans set you up for failure. Yep, I said it. Hear me out before you turn off this podcast. You may think that by downloading a generic birth plan, it means you're in control. The truth is, it's not that simple. No one can control exactly how their birth will go. There are way too many variables. What every pregnant person wants is to walk into the hospital pregnant and to walk out with a healthy newborn in their arms. The journey in between is the murky part. It's hard to know what issues might come up that need to be addressed. If you focus your energy on a birth vision rather than giving your power to a birth plan, you can empower yourself to make the best choices for you and your baby. That's why you need to get into my Empowered Hospital Birth program. As a labor nurse and mindset coach, I can help guide you through the process of maintaining the calm autonomy that will help you achieve the birth vision you desire. In my Empowered Hospital Birth program, I will help you identify the source of anxiety you have surrounding hospital birth, fill in knowledge gaps to make sure that you are fully informed and confident, learn key phrases so you can better communicate with your medical team, emotionally process your fears so that they don't hold power over you. Go to kellyhof.com/empowered to book a free 30-minute private birth vision call, where we will identify your top fears and must-haves and gain clarity on exactly how you want to feel in the birth space. That's kellyhof.com/empowered. I'm honored to be a part of your birth journey.
So then how did that all fit into recovery and going back to work and all of that? How was that for you?
It's so ironic that in this country, one of the most advanced, developed countries, largest economies, most strongest economies in the world, we treat women so poorly. I had started out my current job when I was 6 months pregnant. So I did not have any accumulated leave. My total leave was 2 weeks of paid leave for maternity leave. And then I was on my own for 10 weeks. So I took 10 weeks of unpaid maternity leave, which, I wonder how a single mother can do it. I was very fortunate to have my husband's income, and, I was able to just not work for 10 weeks, but not everybody has that benefit. I was also very fortunate to have my mother here, and then my sister flew in also to help or to support them, just to be together, which was very helpful for my state of being and my emotional well-being. I know that postpartum depression is a thing, and my sister had it. So I think she was very concerned that I could be prone to it. Thankfully, it was not the case, but I was very well supported, and I felt very well supported. So returning to work after all of that was tough. Detaching from my baby, finding a place for childcare, gosh, that was also very, very challenging. Finding a place where I could trust, that I could afford, because that later became one of the decisive points. Should I have or try for another baby? I mean, can we afford a second mortgage, literally, or a third mortgage? Because we're already paying a mortgage and childcare, which is another mortgage. And then if we have another child, it will be another mortgage to pay. It was a tough time to find the care, to return to work, to do the whole pumping thing. I'm also very fortunate to have a private office with a door, and I could do everything I needed to, but many women are not so fortunate. Every time I had, this opportunity to do things for myself, and I saw other coworkers who just didn't, who worked in administrative positions without an office, without places to pump or do some of these things, you really notice the differences and how we need a solid structure that covers all maternity needs at the state level and at the federal level. And you will tell that I'm also always thinking about policy. So yes, that was very challenging. Not just the lack of support regarding pay, but finding childcare and then doing all of these things, working and pumping and having the separation anxiety. I don't know how else to call it. During the first year was really tough.
Yeah, I can echo those statements. It was very difficult. Probably finding a daycare, I feel like, is one of the most anxiety-provoking things I've ever done, especially when there's so little. It gets a little bit easier later because you can kind of trust them to, let you know if there's any problems, and they can express what's going on. But when you're turning over a little baby to someone you've just met, it's very, very, very difficult.
It's very true. I found a place with cameras, and I could log in from work. I could log in remotely. So at work, I have these two screens. One is my work screen and the other one was the screen to watch my baby all day long.
That's lovely.
That was a game changer for me because, I felt like I could see her. I could be there with her a little bit.
That's amazing. If there's anything that you could go back in time and tell yourself, what would that be?
Wow. Trust the process. Trust the process. It's different for everyone, but in the end, everything is going to be okay. Just keep going one foot after the other. If you don't feel too confident to do something by yourself, ask for help. If you need a little more time to do anything, whether that is returning to work or deciding whether to continue breastfeeding, or every little decision is so important. Just take your time and make sure that you do the best for yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Just treat yourself with love. Don't rely on other people's expectations or your perception of other people's expectations, which is probably the most accurate thing. Just do everything for yourself and trust the process.
That's so important. Your perception of other people's expectations, because isn't that what women do to themselves?
Mm-hmm.
We are constantly comparing ourselves. So I've added a couple questions since I started this, because the things that just continue to come up. The first one is, what was pushing like for you? Was it just kind of a natural process, or did you have to really think about what you're doing and try to get those muscles to work? And how long did you have to do that?
So I think I started pushing. I think I pushed probably for 20, 30 minutes total, because for me, the dilation process was a little lengthy. And when it was finally at 10, actually, I believe I dilated to 11, which was pretty remarkable. But my child was my baby was a large baby. So in the end, when I was ready to push, I knew it. I felt that she was really coming out. She was pushing herself out. So I made sure to, contact the doctor. And then I started pushing. It was very intuitive for me. It was just, push. And it was, I think that was right, because after pushing, it took really, I can't say 20 minutes, probably it was much less than that. But to me, it felt like it was a long time because it was hard. It was a lot of work. But by the end of all that long night and all of those contractions, and when I was finally dilated to the point of, of delivery, it was easy. It was very intuitive. I pushed and she was cooperating. She came out. I saw that beautiful face, that beautiful chin, and yeah, the rest is history.
I love that your doctor said you dilated to 11 because her head's so big. That's hysterical. I've never heard anybody say that.
I didn't either, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, it's funny because it's so subjective. Like once we say 10, it's just because the cervix isn't there. But I think I'm going to use that if the head's big. You're dilated to an 11 because you have an enormous head.
The truth is, so my body is so small, and I remember it. I look like, from the front, I look like a normal person. And when I was on the side, I was this huge belly.
Yeah, I did that too. I have pictures or like a video where I'm like standing and everything's normal. And then I turn and it's like, whoa.
You're something like, So yes, she was so big. It was just a beautiful thing. And I am very, very lucky that the second time around, it went all well.
The last couple interviews, I've had women talking about what we need to do as mothers to help recreate the village. So I feel like if you've ever had any kind of difficulty in the postpartum phase, it's kind of just something you want to reach out and help other moms. Mm-hmm. I had some people come when I was recovering with my first, and they brought me food and they talked about some of the books that had helped them and that kind of thing. I think a lot of people maybe don't even know what to do to help a new mom. And a lot of times people assume that they're just going to come over and be entertained by a baby, which isn't necessarily helpful. So what do you feel, what were some of the most helpful things that people did to support you?
Wow. Well, luckily, my mom and my sister were very helpful, and my sister has 2 children, so she kind of knew what to do. I think she was also looking out for me because she was recreating the village. She had postpartum depression, and she was there for me, like waiting to do or say whatever she needed to say in the event I was facing a crisis. That was very helpful. They both fed me. That was helpful. If I could do or say something to anyone, it would be, the breastfeeding. It's not easy. It's possible. Don't beat yourself up if it doesn't happen. There are some teas that can help with the production of milk. There is something that I used. It's a Colombian thing. I was born in Colombia, and it's called panela. It's essentially sugarcane, boiled sugarcane, and it's a block. It's a block of sugarcane, but it does have like a molasses flavor to it. And we make tea out of that, or we sweeten everything with that. But that tea is said or believed back home to help produce a lot of milk. So I was drinking that thing all the time, and I don't know if it's true, but it worked. I was producing a lot of milk. That could be a blessing or not, because I needed to pump all the time. And if I was not pumping, I was in pain. But it just use whatever works for you. That is what I would tell anyone. Use whatever works for you, and to try new things. You never know what will work. And if something definitely doesn't work, don't feel bad about dropping it. If breastfeeding is not your thing, you may have the pelvic floor issues or not. Take your time, do your exercises, be patient.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Self-care is not something to be feared.
That is very true, especially when you have someone else to take care of.
Yeah.
You also need to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well, Erika, is there anything else that you wanted to add that we didn't cover?
No, thank you so much for having me and for bringing this perspective. I think that if there is anything that I want to say and I want to remind women of, is there are currently, according to the World Health Organization, 23,000 women die in unsafe performed abortions or proceedings. And I believe it's very important for us to advocate for ourselves and for other women. We never know when we will be in a position when we need that care. And a huge percentage of the women accessing abortion care services are married women with children. So you never know what life may bring you in the future, or what may happen, or what may happen to someone you love. But I believe that it's something that we all need to defend for ourselves, access to reproductive rights, and to be mothers for choice, by choice, to make sure that we all have that option to decide. And I wish the best to everyone expecting right now, or who have just delivered their baby. And I hope anything and any little piece that I have said today or shared today will be helpful to you.
Thank you so much.
Do you have questions that you wish a labor nurse could answer? As your due date approaches, do you wish you could pick someone's brain about all the things that might happen during your labor? When you meet with your OB or midwife, do you forget your questions in the moment? Do you feel like you need someone to take more time to walk you through what might happen in the hospital and how to truly mentally prepare? You're in luck, because I'm offering this as a free service in 2023. To get details on how to schedule a free session with me, email me at birthjourneysrn@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes. Don't forget to share the podcast with a friend who can benefit from the valuable insights that we share here. And if you could take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and review, it would mean the world to me. If you're ready to work one-on-one with me to embark on a transformational journey towards a confident and empowered hospital birth experience, go to kellyhof.com/empowered and enroll in my Empowered Hospital Birth Coaching Program. Together, we'll create a roadmap to a birth experience that you'll cherish forever. That's KELLYHOF.com/empowered. Let's make your birth experience extraordinary.